Sometimes you don't want to talk to anyone, not because you're angry, not because you're depressed, but because even one more conversation feels like noise scraping against your brain. You cancel plans, you ignore messages, you feel irritated by small things, and then a quiet thought appears. Maybe I just don't like people. But what if that's not true? What if you don't hate people, you're just emotionally overstimulated? There's a specific kind of exhaustion that sleep doesn't fix. It shows up after social gatherings. After long days at work, after being on for too long, you come home and silence feels like oxygen. You don't want conversation, you don't want eye contact. Even texts feel invasive, and when someone asks, "Are you okay?" you feel a flicker of irritation because explaining how tired you are would require more energy. This isn't dramatic burnout, it's subtle, it's internal. It feels like your emotional skin has become thin. Small comments feel sharp. Background noise feels louder. People's moods feel heavier. You start to withdraw not because you dislike people, but because you feel full. Psychology calls this emotional overstimulation, a state where your nervous system has processed more social and emotional input than it can comfortably regulate. And here's what makes it confusing: it can look like introversion, it can look like cynicism, it can even look like bitterness, but underneath it is neurological overload. If you've ever thought, why am I so easily drained? Why can't I just handle people like everyone else? Why do I need so much space? The instinct is to label yourself antisocial, cold, detached, but emotional overstimulation isn't a personality flaw, it's a capacity issue. Your brain has limits, just like a muscle has limits. Some people have a higher threshold for sensory and emotional input. Others, especially those high in sensory processing, sensitivity, empathy, or conscientiousness, process more data per interaction. They don't just hear words, they read tone, micro-expressions, shifts in energy, unspoken tension. They are constantly scanning, not consciously but neurologically, and that scanning consumes resources. So when you feel drained, it may not be because you dislike people, it may be because your brain has been working overtime. Let's slow this down. Your brain has two major systems involved in social interaction. One, the social monitoring network; two, the stress regulation system, the social monitoring network. This includes areas like the amygdala, the medial prefrontal cortex, the superior temporal sulcus. These regions track facial expressions, predict intentions, and interpret social cues. Think of this system as a radar. It's always scanning the room. Who feels tense? Who is judging? Who needs reassurance? For some people, this radar is highly sensitive, like turning the brightness all the way up on a screen, more detail but also more glare. The stress regulation system now add cortisol. Every social interaction carries a microlevel uncertainty. Your brain asks, am I safe here? Am I accepted? Do I need to adjust myself? Even low-level vigilance activates the stress response, not fight or flight, but alertness. When this happens repeatedly without recovery time, your nervous system shifts into hyperarousal. You feel wired and tired at the same time. This is why small sounds irritate you. Small talk feels unbearable. Eye contact feels intense. Your brain isn't rejecting people, it's protecting energy. Here, where it gets complicated. When overstimulation continues, your brain starts associating people equals energy loss. This is classical conditioning. The same mechanism that makes you tense up when you hear a notification sound after a stressful day. If social interaction repeatedly leads to exhaustion, your brain anticipates exhaustion, and anticipation itself drains energy. So you withdraw earlier, you cancel faster, you become more irritable sooner, and eventually you say, I just don't like people. But that's not hatred, that's avoidance learning. Your brain learned that distance equals relief. This is not about becoming more social. It's about becoming more regulated. Here are 5 psychologically grounded principles. Research on cognitive fatigue shows the brain restores regulation through brief intentional pauses, not scrolling, not passive distraction, but low-input rest. Examples: 5 minutes of silence, looking at something distant, slow breathing. These reduce activity in the amygdala and calm the stress response. If you are highly perceptive, your brain scans automatically. Practice selective attention. Instead of tracking everyone in a room, choose one anchor: the texture of your drink, a single conversation, the feeling of your feet on the ground. This shifts activation from hypervigilance to grounded presence. Decision fatigue worsens overstimulation. Before entering social environments, decide how long you'll stay, when you'll leave, how much engagement feels sustainable. Having an exit plan reduces anticipatory stress. Your nervous system relaxes when it knows there's an end point. Language matters. Instead of "I can't stand people," try "My nervous system is overloaded." This subtle shift prevents identity fusion with exhaustion. You are not antisocial, you are saturated. Solitude is not isolation. For overstimulated brains, solitude is regulation. Research on default mode network activity shows that quiet, reflective time restores emotional processing. Think of solitude as clearing mental RAM, not avoiding life, resetting it. Imagine your nervous system as a cup. Every social interaction pours water into it. Some interactions pour a little, some pour a lot. If you never empty the cup, it spills. The spill looks like irritation, withdrawal, cynicism. I hate people. But the real issue is what's in the cup. It's that it's full. Emotional overstimulation isn't about disliking humanity. It's about unprocessed input. The solution isn't harder socializing, it's rhythm. Input, pause, input, pause. Regulation is a cycle, not a personality. You don't hate people, you might even care deeply, maybe too deeply. Maybe your brain listens too closely, feels too quickly, tracks too much. And when it gets tired, it protects you the only way it knows how, by pulling away. So the next time you feel that familiar irritation, don't rush to label yourself cold. Ask instead, am I overwhelmed? Because sometimes the most misunderstood emotion is simply a tired nervous system asking for quiet. Visual, person walking alone at sunrise, light gradually warming, and maybe the goal isn't to become someone who can handle everyone. Maybe the goal is to understand how your brain works so you can protect it gently, without mistaking protection for hatred.